Plan Commission and ZBA Commission meeting. And we'll do a roll call. Let's see, Neil Anderson.
Here.
All right. And Holly, I'm going to say your name wrong again. Boron.
Here.
And Peggy Seehafer. See, after 3 years, I've got that. All right. And President Jerome Johnson's here. And then absent is Joe Carpenter. And Mike, how's Mike's last name spelled? Is it?
Curtis.
It is Curtis? Okay, I was thinking it was a double S. And Joe Carpenter, absent, okay. All right. All right, I have pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go ahead and do the public comments. Generally speaking, they limit public comments to 3 to 5 minutes. I'm not terribly worried about that tonight. There's not a lot on anybody's agenda here, at least on this side of the fence. So if everyone signed in, who's the first person that wants to make an observation? All right, and what's your name?
My name's Pete Woeste, W-O-E-S-T-E.
Oh, great. Thank you, Pete.
It's on? Okay. You guys can hear me? Yeah. Usually it's not a problem for people to hear me. I just wanted to come in and talk through, I'm a resident of Campton Hills. I live in Fox Creek. I've been there for 16 years, since '08. We moved in, and my wife and I had 2 children, and we raised them here, and I've been in King County for 30 years. And we just wanted to come in and introduce ourselves. We came last year to one of your meetings and talked, just kind of see how the system works. And we wanted to we bought a piece of property here just right around the corner, and we're just looking to do a little development, and we're going through the process. So we're just learning a little bit more and more every time we come in and talk through things. So we met last June 9th with Denise and kind of walked through and gave a presentation and didn't hear much. And I know there's been a lot of turnover and whatnot, so we've kind of laid low and decided to, talk through this a little bit more. Here we've submitted an application, and we're just really wanting to see how to navigate the system, go through the process and try to put something we think is going to be very good for the community. So that's it. Appreciate your time.
All right. As far as direction, then I guess Jim is the person to talk to, Jim Brown. He's the one that does those kinds of things now, and he's been providing input, for example, in the zoning commission that's reviewing the zoning that was passed in the last year. And but he's dealing with all that, so I would say that's the first thing to start with him. So he's in effect the last person you talked to. He's sort of filling that role on a part-time basis, so you'll need to get a good schedule.
We have, it's our partner. I'll introduce them, and maybe they can talk through that a little bit.
I'm sorry?
We met with Jim. Kelly has.
Oh,
We
you
already
have? Okay.
Yes.
All right, yeah, well,
So we'll go over it in a minute.
yeah,
here.
so he's the first one that people approach. And then at that point, then if it's something that's just perfectly allowed, then it moves forward. If it's something where there's a zoning change, then that has to come. Or if there's an application for a variance or something like that, then it starts going in front of the ZBA.
Okay.
And all. So that's give you a little idea of the process. So we don't hear anything, and then what we do, we make recommendations to the village. The
Sure.
village board is the one
Approves.
that actually votes and approves. If there is an appeal, then it comes back to us, and then we have the final decision in that case and all.
So we're primarily a recommendation body in most of the activities that we do when it gets into zoning.
Sounds good.
Okay,
No, appreciate it.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next.
I'm Dan Wells, and I don't know, we are working with Jim, but I did bring some copies of this in just for you guys to have, so you kind of understood what it is that we were here to discuss. Basically what it is, like Pete said, we purchased a piece of land that is at the corner of La Fox and the Great Western Trail on the southeast corner of that vacant piece that's there. It's currently zoned B3, and a permitted use for that is garages. It's in the ordinance, and like you had explained, if it's perfectly allowed, then it's allowed, and that's kind of where we're at. We had submitted as Pete mentioned, we submitted a permit application on June 12th, almost identical submittal as you guys have there. But for some reason, we decided to add the title of motor lodge on it. Motor lodge garage, just thinking it was kind of, would help, you know, define what we're doing, but it actually confused things and made it worse. So Mr. Brown did review it. I don't know his process of review or whom he talked to or what that was, but he basically sent us back a letter of denial based on the motor lodge terminology, stating what we want to do does not fit into the motor lodge definition. So accepting that response from him, we removed all the motor lodge information, definition, and all of that out of there and resubmitted, because in his denial, he didn't mention the garage definition or that to not be a permitted use. So we are in fact just resubmitting this application, simplifying it to garages. We're zone B3 there, and as a B3 zone, you can do the same thing in B2 and B1, all of those permitted uses. And so garages is a permitted use in B1, and therefore flows through to B3. So when right, it is a permitted use. We just want to kind of explain this process. If you've seen this project before, heard of it, or anything about it, it was kicked back and denied to us the first time, but I think it was just confusion on the motor lodge stuff. So, like Pete said, we did come in what was it, June of 23. We bought the property in 22, and then with the intent of building these, we came in 23 and met with Denise and Joanne. They accepted our packet, and we went through a presentation. They said they're gonna speak to the people that need to review it and then get back to us. Obviously, they didn't get back to us, and we waited and waited and waited and never could hear anything or see anything. And then we patiently waited, knowing that you guys were going through some changes here. And then finally, it's to the point, we have to do something with that land. It's time. We've got that investment, and it's time to get moving. So here we are, asking you guys to work with us on this permitted use and help us get through this process somehow.
Right. Typically, what happens is the information goes to the village administrator that's involved with zoning, and then the staff reviews it, sees if it fits in the zoning and all that, and then they, if it's something that needs to be brought to us, they then put forward the information they have about what's being applied for, where it does or doesn't fit into the current code and things like that. We've not seen this before, and I've been, let's see, I guess, Peggy, were you here at that time by June? Yeah, you were. So that, yeah, last year. So neither one of us, and the other two are newer members of the Plan Commission and Zoning Board. So I had not seen anything coming down and all. So that's typically what we'd be informed of some application or whatever if it required input. Jim, this is our village trustee.
Yeah,
Has
I do
valuable
remember you guys
comments.
attending the meeting about a year ago. We were back in one of the conference rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, we met with Denise and.
I mean, nothing was brought up at that meeting.
We never heard back.
Yeah,
We thought that was the process.
right, yeah, so,
Can I get clarification on one comment that you
Sure.
made? You had said that if it meets current code and it meets the current ordinance and things, then what's the process after that?
well, generally speaking, if it goes, so like, in other words, let's say you want to add a deck onto your house. And if it meets both the building requirements, or if it doesn't require a change in zoning, then usually something like that just gets approved by the building administrator or the village administrator, whoever's handling that kind of thing. If it gets involved with more of a zoning issue, then that's where that person either says this does not fit and you can't do it. And then I think then if you want more information, then you come back and say, well, we'd still like to go to the zoning commission and ask them about it. Does it fit in? So that's sort of how that would happen, and that's my best guesstimate. We've not had too much of this, or we haven't had this kind of situation arise before.
So we're currently zone B3, and this is a permitted use there, so it should be as simple as
I
it just is.
don't know, because I've not had a chance to review this, and I'm not the zoning expert. We're citizenry, volunteer citizens. We basically are like the first public voice of a group of people representing the village that looks at it and says, okay, well, the staff says this works here, this doesn't work here, this works here, and so on. And then we either say, okay, we do, quite often we see variances people will apply for, and whether they get approved or not, it's a whole nother thing at whatever level, whether it's at our recommendation level or if it's at the village level. So that's where we're a blank slate. We really don't know anything about this. So
But
we
if
would
we are,
expect.
but if we
we
don't
would
have a
expect
zoning
that.
issue and it's a,
We may never see anything.
Right, if it's something that's
permitted use,
permitted
you
use.
just- you can't
it'll never
go
show
for it.
up in front of you guys if it's
Right,
permitted?
right, yeah, if it's a permitted use.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So that's where I would say you need to talk to Mr. Brown and say, if you've gotten some feedback from him and if you don't agree with it, then, well, that's where I would say, okay, is there an alternative? Can we talk to the zoning commission, I guess, on it, right? Would be essentially the feedback.
Well, Jim has to determine yes or no,
Okay.
because
Okay.
he's the zoning person, that's his job, is to look that up. So if they are asking for a garage or whatever it is, and if it's a permitted use, then Jim would move that on to permits, to get a permit, to build.
Yeah.
That's
So
typically,
the main thing is we want to make sure that,
if it doesn't fall, then the owners have to decide if they want to change the zoning, and then it would come to us.
okay.
Yeah, which
So-
I don't think
yeah.
we'd have to travel that because we are zone B3 and this is a
I mean, there's a lot of
permitted
uses.
use in B3, so. What's that?
There's a lot of uses there, I would think you.
Is this the old
Something.
Brightside?
It's a vacant
Farm?
piece. It's a
Or
vacant
what-
piece.
Where is it located again? You said La Fox?
The Great Western Trail,
Okay.
right just west of the program.
Oh, so it's back by the,
North of Collins.
Yeah.
okay, so it's back by the
Behind-
repair shop and all that?
Right behind,
No, it's on the south side. It's
Oh,
that
okay,
vacant piece
okay.
that's next to Lester Swanson's house.
If you
Okay.
go out La Fox,
Oh,
just before
I
you,
see.
just before you cross the Great Western.
Old
on
La
the
Fox
right.
Road, Old La
Yeah,
Fox
yeah, I'm
Road. I was
sorry,
thinking
Old
La
La
Fox
Fox.
here and, yeah, okay, yeah.
Old-
All right, I got you. All right, yeah, so so
That's railroad property,
yeah,
used to be.
so,
Where's the map? See, right here.
The last page.
It's
Yeah.
the railroad property. Just like Mitson's.
Yeah, so it's
all
across
railroad
from the-
property.
Wasco Lawn and Power. And all in
Well, it's
effect.
on the south side.
Yeah, it's on the south side though.
And then this is where Lester's house is here.
Right.
The B one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's, so, yeah, so.
And that's the gas company. They're B3. And then Tom,
Right. they're over
Tom
there.
is all B3.
Yeah, and he's got his condos there, or whatever, okay.
So
Yeah,
that's all the same
So that's where we
uses,
depend on the
so.
staff to come with us with topics like this and say where it fits or it doesn't fit, or this has to be a zoning change, and that's more where we get involved. So, that would be the first, thing is check back with Jim and, I mean, technically, if it is not allowed, in that zoning, then it's not allowed. So I don't know what, and so we would depend, first of all, on Jim to tell us, explain the whole situation to us.
Right, okay.
So that's where you can't count on us to make a knowledgeable decision or
No,
anything
but
like that.
you did confirm the fact that if it is zoned properly and it is
Yeah.
a permitted use there,
Yeah.
it should
It-
never get in front of
it-
you guys.
right.
It should just go straight into
It should
permitting.
move
then.
forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
typically,
Okay.
yeah.
perfect.
So,
Good.
yeah,
Well,
no,
thank you very much for your time.
You're
But-
welcome.
yeah, no.
Thank you.
Just kind of to reiterate a little bit, we did purchase the property in '22. And thanks to Mr. Coleman there.
Use the mic, please, because it's being recorded.
And so when we did do our due diligence, when we purchased that, and at that time, the zoning was, it did allow for this use. So we have expected to put this use on that property. I have gone to Kane County, and I know they don't oversee Village of Campton once I figured all that out. But it was their opinion, if I were to go there, if Village of Campton was not here, they said this is actually a good use for this property. It's a very narrow lot. There's not a whole lot you can do on it. The city water and sewer lines going through the middle. We want it to be rural. And I think what we thought initially when we put in our first application and Mr. Brown denied it, he said he spoke to a few people. I think there was confusion that we were going to have this rowdy atmosphere over there, and that's not at all the intention. It's more for people that are collectors, possibly. So we're just trying to figure out the fit. I feel like we've been really patient with Campton. I've called many times, and they weren't really sure who we should talk to, so we've kind of waited. So we just would like to work with you, and I know the new ordinances are coming out. So right now, without a map, we kind of are in limbo, and we're not supposed to be in that place as a property owner, I don't believe, from what I've been told. So we want to work with Campton on how we can do this and make it fit for everyone. And that's kind of why the reason why we came to you tonight is because the denial came pretty abruptly without a lot of information, and things were spoken, talked to, supposedly, but who was that? You know what I mean? I would have taken it a little bit, or I would have understood better if he would have came here and said, hey, what do you guys think? Does this fit? Like, instead of just a denial. So we're reapplying in more of a simpler terms of a garage. Call it what it is, a garage for private use. And I know your new ordinance, if you get them done and the map's done, there's the construction business piece that could go in that property. So it's basically, it's a garage. I mean, they're the same thing, so whatever we want to call it, however, okay? So, thank you.
Jerry, may I say something? So I just took a peek at the zoning commission's agenda for Wednesday, and they're actually hearing the commercial zoning. They're going to be discussing commercial zoning, so that might be another place to go on Wednesday and discuss that with them. Because they're actually in the process of rewriting all the zoning, so it's
Yeah,
kind
but
of
No,
maybe.
no, not quite. All right. What is happening is the new administration, political administration, is reviewing the zoning that we passed a year ago after 12 years of work, which is fine. And they're going through it page by page, largely based on input from Mr. Brown, who's the village administrator. And he's suggesting different phrasing of things. There's not too much happening in terms of any real major change in zoning in itself, because it's basically the Kane County Code that the village adopted when we formed, and this is just tweaking it to tighten it up, so, I don't think anybody wants to have gravel pits and quarries and things like that here. And in the county code, those things were allowed. So that's a little bit of the history on it. So right now, this group is reviewing the zoning that was approved a year ago or so. And they're reviewing that. They will make recommendations to the village board as to what things they would suggest be updated or changed or whatever. And then the village board will decide whether or not they will or not or whatever. So that's sort of how that is. So in other words, unless if there's something real specific, I don't know if your question even begin to get answered. To me, that's where we got to find out, well, why did Mr. Brown deny it, first off? Maybe there's a very specific clause and paragraph that he said, oh, this does not fit here, whatever. So that's all. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and that was kind of part of what I tried to explain, and obviously didn't explain it well enough. But we did use the motor lodge definition in our original application, and we shouldn't have, because it did confuse him or whomever he talked to. And so we've resubmitted removing that out, because that was what he denied it based on what we're presenting didn't fit the definition of motor lodge. So we confused things by doing that. So we've removed that, resubmitted the same thing, but we're going in under garages, which is currently a permitted use for the way that property is currently zoned. So
Yeah.
that's that. Now, all of this explanation, I'm going to ask you one more question. They're going through this whole process, but we're currently zoned B3, and this is currently a permitted use. And that's pure and simple, the boundaries of the decision that they would make. They would base it entirely on that, not what they think of or not what they hope for.
Right, no, it's whatever the existing zoning is applies as is right now. And until that was adopted a year or so ago, maybe 2 years, it was such a long time, sitting through all the meetings, so prior to it being adopted, then it was primarily the old Kane County Code.
Correct, yeah.
And all. So that's where what's ever enforced now is what people can apply under. And if the village chooses to change it 6 months down the road, obviously now's the time to be considered if for some reason you think there was going to be a change or something based on what our current current regulations are. But
Yes, the current ordinance has been adopted, but they haven't adopted a new map. And so on the proposed map, it does not have us as anything. So going back to the map, we are currently zoned B3. The new ordinance doesn't have a B1 or 2, 3 in it, so therefore it has to go back to the original
Okay.
ordinances that have a B3 district in it.
Jerry,
yes.
I don't believe it's
Commissioner
been
Shehab.
adopted because it hasn't gone to the board.
What, you mean
The-
Jim, didn't they adopt the zoning last year? That
The current one.
I think that's what.
The-
Well, the
right,
map, the
the-
map,
Map was not.
yeah, the
zoning
map,
was.
the map,
Zoning was.
yeah, the zoning was. The map
The
is
map was
somewhat
not.
secondary. It
was the
follows,
one piece
it
that was-
technically should follow the
Map's
zoning.
not approved, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And, because we were told when we, because what happened was this, in the process of working on the zoning and getting all the verbiage and all that, and having public hearings and response from people and then adjusting some of the issues that were in there, they said that you can go ahead and adopt it, and this was the legal counsel the village had at the time, that you could adopt it and update the map within a year. All right. Well, then administration changed, so I don't know what the time frame is technically from all that at this point. But that's where the map has value, but it's not the primary thing that determines the zoning. So if B3 is no longer listed in the zoning, is that what,
Yes, that is a correct statement.
that correct? And so B3 does not exist in the current zoning?
They change everything to
Okay.
C1, C2, or C3.
Okay,
So
okay.
we are currently zoned B3, and we don't have a classification in the new
I
text of the
understand.
new
All right.
ordinance, so
yeah,
therefore,
this has to go back to.
it should revert back to
definitely
the original ordinances
the-
that has a B3 in it.
I can't answer that question, because, the main
They
thing is.
cannot change your zoning. You have a right to that zoning. So they're gonna have to come up with whatever definition they're gonna give to that. This is very frustrating, even to me, that all this is going on. This is ridiculous that nobody knows what's going on, and this is a perfect example. So,
Well-
a motor lodge was obviously not the place you should have went. Motor lodge is a motel.
We
So
better
that-
understand the interpretation of
So
that now.
Jim for sure would have denied that.
Yes,
But a garage is a permitted use.
correct.
A storage
So-
building is a permitted use. So you should be moving forward to the permitting process. And if you're not, you need to come to the board meetings and tell the board what's going on.
The village
Because
board, the village board.
This is ridiculous to be going this long and not have an answer.
And on our first
So-
application, we had the garage ordinance, and we had two ordinances. We thought we would fit under garage, or we fit under motor lodge, because we had an empty, so it was on there.
Yeah, but there should have been some help there. I mean, if Jim should have said, you're not a motor lodge. I mean, he should have just told you flat out, that isn't what you're looking for.
And then as a garage.
And he should have helped you then to give you some clarification on what was going on. You know? and-
Yeah, and we tried to have that conversation with him, but it didn't go
But
so well, but it was
Any
nevertheless.
resident that lives here has a right to come to a board meeting. And if there's a problem, they need to bring that forward to the board.
And I've got one, just going back, I want to clarify something. You said that they don't have the right to change our zoning.
They cannot take away the zoning that you bought.
So we bought as
There's-
B3, so we're forever B3, and they can't change us to
They
C1.
cannot, they can change they can change whatever they want to change, letters, numbers, whatever, but the zoning that you bought, you get.
I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Direction, I
They
think you're
cannot
right.
take away your rights.
No, I'm not-
They can't take away,
I don't want a philosophical discussion.
you know.
I'm saying the village attorney would have to weigh in.
Yeah, that's.
we've
we
spent enough
greatly
money on
depend
village
upon.
attorneys.
I totally agree with you.
We don't need a village attorney to make this definition.
All
There's
I-
no reason that this shouldn't
Well,
be moving forward.
We need to get feedback
And
from.
our committee is not, I'm just trying to help.
And
This
I
is,
100%.
this committee is not gonna be looking at your project because it's a permitted use.
If it's not, yeah, if it's a permitted use and
Thank
it
you.
fits the zoning, all right.
So,
So,
it
so
make-
what I,
you know,
so the main thing
Makes
right
no
now,
sense
so the
otherwise.
main thing right now is, you need to go back to Mr. Brown, and we can put an inquiry in too, as to, are there any issues here that need to be brought to the commission itself, or to the zoning, ZBA, zoning and building. So
does
that would be the first
anybody
thing.
know
So-
so in our new zoning code, so when they changed the numbers and letters, the new one that you guys approved, so B3 had to change the zoning.
Right. The one.
Our zoning ordinance was, the numbers and letters were changed.
Yeah, I guess what I'm.
So if B3 is no longer out there, there had to be a replacement.
Yeah, again, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think we all need to know the
Yeah,
answer.
well, that's what we
These-
need to have.
This
We need
is
to have staff and
ridiculous
legal.
not to know what's
Yeah.
going on.
We know what is,
Well-
we know what is proposed, but it hasn't been adopted.
That is correct.
So,
You should be
Well-
under the.
so they have not adopted a new map to reclassify us, so we're currently B3.
No, but the map is secondary.
I agree 100%.
So they approved the new zoning ordinance, I don't know, when was it, a year ago?
January 23rd.
2000,
Yeah,
Or
So-
January 23.
In there, it should tell you exactly.
yeah.
It should tell you exactly.
Jerry,
so-
can I just,
Yeah.
my suggestion in spirit of working together, if you did not get satisfaction from Mr. Brown, you need to go back to Mr. Brown and try to get a clarification on what you guys are.
And we thought
It-
he might be here, we were gonna submit.
Right.
We only worked
yeah. And hope he would engage in this conversation too, just so we can get some answers, but I 100%.
You need to engage in that, because obviously these commissioners are saying the right thing. Before it comes to us, if it's permitted, it's permitted. It's not even gonna come here.
We met with Jim 2 hours or an hour and a half the other day, right? And tried to get explanation and then submitted, and so that's where I think we just.
Okay.
Sounds like something's lost in translation.
Well, we need to ask, then we need to have a question coming from this commission itself, just to.
Let's
the other
start with us
thing-
resubmitting this cleaner, less confusing definition of what we're doing. It's the same plan, same drawing, same sketch.
Is this basically a garage condo situation?
Exactly.
All right, so and across the street, Tom Peterson has been selling his condos, garage condos in effect.
Right. Only they'll
or
have
business condos or
a
whatever.
different facade and they'll
Yeah.
be.
All right.
a-
Okay, well, yeah, so whatever there, but I wouldn't go to any further expense without getting Mr. Brown to say specifics and have the input from the village attorney if that's needed to back it up.
Right.
That, okay, this is where it says here, this and this, and so it's, yeah, because usually staff's pretty good at interpretation, and then they fall back to the attorneys if it needs, the defined definition,
Right.
every single word looked at it properly, so.
And one of the things too, you mentioned garage condos and that we understand that term and we understand it, but part of his denial letter was, we're calling them garage condos and he thinks condo has to have commercial underneath it and a resident up top because it has to be a residential place in order to be classified as a condo. That was-
Okay, yeah.
That was part of
Yeah,
his,
no, I'm just using a generic throw-out word.
we
but-
use the exact same
yeah,
thing because
yeah.
we understand
Yeah.
what you're saying.
So I would think that's the thing, well, how's it,
Yes. We
how,
simplified it,
what's
we took
across
all
the
of those words out.
street different from what we want to do? That would be
Thank you.
just the simple thing that I would ask. That's not a legal opinion or anything, so it's just,
I just quickly want to say thank you very much. You have clarified some things for us, and I
All
do
right.
better understand
And,
your position and the feeling, so I do want
And
to
like
thank
I
you for your
said,
time.
and if there, and there should be also, like normally, Jim is here, and I thought the village attorney was gonna be here from one of the emails that I got, but whatever. So, on the one hand, but typically, those are kind of questions that should have been answered at the staff level, and then we would get the thing coming to us because, it's a desire to have a variance change, or, a setback line is different, there's all sorts of things. If you look at the the current code, I mean, it's thick and a lot of details. They try to define everything. So that's another thing. Look at the current zoning code and the definitions, and maybe you'll find a definition for what you want to do that fits very specifically. Now, maybe you already have, and garage fits or whatever, but, so there's things in the definition that may not be allowed or be allowed, but you need them so that people know what that type of thing is, whatever it is. So and the whole concept of the redoing of the code was not just simply, okay, we need to tighten up some things, but also trying to make it flow better. So you'd have the definitions first, and then you'd start going chapter by chapter and going down the line to where you wanted to be versus the code that we were looking at, King County's code, especially from years ago. It was sort of, you had to jump here and then jump over here and back again to begin to connect the dots. So that was the attempt to do, and it was a lengthy process with a lot of input from volunteers as well as professionals and all that, so.
Jerry, may I say
Yes,
something?
Commissioner
I
Seehofer?
thank you for your patience, and I appreciate that you're taking your time and trying to do your due diligence in getting to the right people. And I'm sure there are people here who will help you get to the right people. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Anybody else? Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead. What's the name, please?
Mark Coleman, C-O-L-E-M-A-N. I live at 40W082 Carl Sandburg, in Territory Code.
Could you speak into the mic so we can record? Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry. So I've had a long history with Campton Township and Campton Hills. I think years ago, we started by marketing homes inside the village of Wasco and doing business here with like Wasco Blacksmith Shop. I sold the Knutson property at the corner with it, went on to become Campton Crossings and Campton Center and the extension of Burlington Road to become married up with La Fox Road. And a lot of other things. And I got to know Dan and Kelly from other related matters, but it started out with my review of Suburban Propane and their property. And I noticed this appendage that had a separate PIN number and was an unused, underutilized piece of property in Campton Hills that had commercial zoning. And I had experience with Tom Peterson next door on the other side. He called me in 2018 and said, Mark, we've had this rental project for a number of years, and we decided it's getting close to, our time to head to Florida, and we want to convert it. We want to benefit from the equity via converting it to a condominium, and that's what they did in 2017. I began marketing in 2018. Skeptical initially because I didn't think it could compete with condominium, industrial, commercial condominiums in Batavia and Geneva and St. Charles. And I was a bit flabbergasted when the sales started moving so quickly. And I learned that there was a reservoir of demand for this type of product in this location. As you know, there's a lot of homes around Campton Township. And a lot of the owners that emerged were Campton Township residents. So I saw this underutilized piece of property and I thought that it should have a very similar use to Campton Business or Wasco Business Center. So that's what started the process, and I think Dan and Kelly, this will be your first project, right? Of actual taking a project from vacant land to finished product and sales. So I've told them it's not an easy thing to do. Even if all the stars are aligned, it's still a difficult process. And so I see this as kind of like a pre-development meeting where we're just kind of introducing the intent and kind of coming clean with what they want to end up with and how they're sincere about their desire to produce something that is a credit and a compliment to the village. And I think that's what all of us have in mind. And your participation as volunteer community members is certainly recognized and appreciated with much gratitude. So thank you all for that. And I say, let's get on with the show. What do you think? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
And known Mark and his family for a number of years, as well as the fact that his son works for us at Garfield Farm Museum. So just so you know, above board, that I certainly know of the family and Mark's reputation and involvement with Thomas Peterson and things like that. Anything else from any of the? Okay. All right. Well, let's get, we'll be sure to get, go ahead and clean up whatever you want to do, how you want to phrase it, and put that in front of Jim, but we'll also try to get some feedback from Jim, from Mr. Brown on this, and all, because, we just don't know. Yeah. Okay, very good. Because all we were going to do tonight was approve some past minutes and go home and enjoy the rest of the summer. No, that's quite all right.
Thanks for coming.
Have a good night.
We'll see you.
Thank you so much. All right.
They are
Let's see here.
one of many people that are not happy with our permitting process. Have 2 years for this to go on for 2 years is ridiculous. So, anyway, it needs to get fixed.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Plan Commission Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of December 11th, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of December 11th, 2023. Do we have a second? Thank you. You want a second?
Other dies for lack of a second.
I wasn't there.
Then I have to, yes, I will second.
Okay, any discussion, any questions?
I question the abstain. We don't know who abstained in the voice on that first one? You don't have any of this in front of you, do you? This is the agenda for that evening?
In December?
December 11th, 2023, last year.
So that was a typo. That's a typo. It's supposed to be absent is one, and I'm the one who wrote these actual set of
Right.
minutes. So the abstain is supposed to be zero.
It's absent.
Yes, yes, correct, yeah. That is
Alright.
a mistake, yes.
So make that.
Was that Joe DeGru or?
Yes, yes, he was absent, I believe, yeah. It was recorded correctly under roll call, but not in the approval of the minutes. Oh, no, I mean, wait, I'm sorry. I take
Well,
that back.
you've got
Somebody,
one
It
absent.
says absent
Somebody-
one.
absent one, but we wouldn't have four ayes. Well, one, two. Did somebody abstain who was not there for the meeting? That would make more sense.
It's possible if it was approving minutes or something like that, or if they, depending what the topic was, and I'm trying to get back to.
Well,
The topic is.
And when there's a voice vote, you don't have to put exactly who voted what.
No, but you do have to line up the number of votes that are being counted.
but it,
Yeah.
well, I'll shut up because I'm not supposed to be speaking, but I gotta say,
Oh.
well, if you add it up, though.
It's five.
There's five people that were present. What she's saying is there were four ayes and one abstention, right? And one, the sixth person, Dre Gu, was not there, is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
So that adds up to five. It just doesn't tell you which one abstained. That's all it did, right? It's not telling you who abstained. It's telling you there was four ayes and one abstention, and one person wasn't there, which was Drew.
And if I remember correctly, it was actually Commissioner Carpenter. I do remember now, because he was not present for the public hearing.
Because that was the one we were talking about.
So the math works, right?
Variance.
The math still works, so.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, is there any other discussion then, if that's clarified and straightened out? All right, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of approving the minutes of December, what's it, 11th? Let's see, we'll go around the room. Well, let's just do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right.
I would also like to make a motion to approve the minutes of February 26th, 2024.
I will second.
All right. Now, second, is there any discussion, any questions, corrections? All right, if there's no discussion, then let's put forward a voice vote again. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 All right, opposed, same sign.
had a look at the agenda. I mean, it's on here too, it's on the packet. It seems pretty basic, it seems pretty simple enough to, without even being there, to be able to write some basic minutes of what, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is we don't really know,
Tracy said you need your mic on, Jerry, please. You're not picking up.
we don't know, let's see, where
was
is it?
there?
Is it there? Yeah, specifically. And I, you know, I almost even wonder if that was one of those meetings that we didn't have a quorum, and we were just talking about, like finding pictures for the plan, to update the plan. Remember we had one like that? Go ahead.
Well, no, Denise was gone by then, and we were working on photographs with Denise. I was,
Denise left at the end of September. She was there in August.
but we were not working on the pit photographs
That
for
evening.
that.
That meeting, yeah, I just, yeah, so I have no
I have a
recollection specifics on that one. Like who was there, or if we had a quorum or anything.
Were those, the minutes that were on the agenda, were those approved? The May 22nd, 23 minutes at that meeting? That could be an indicator of if you held the meeting or not. I can
It'd
look.
have to be in the record. If they were approved, then they'd in theory be in the record. But,
I'll go look.
Jerry, there was one meeting that I was at that there wasn't a quorum, and we just sat and talked about, I thought, photos and stuff. I have no idea if it was that meeting.
yeah, I can't remember if it was that one. It's just,
Because
I remember it was the
this sheet is
summertime
telling us
meeting.
nothing.
Yeah,
The
It's like
2023.
Nobody was there. I mean,
August 28th, 2023.
May we table this till we find out someone else who might be able to have some memory involved?
The problem is that we're already so far away from it that we have 30 days to approve, or 30 days is the maximum, basically. The way statute reads is we have 30 days to approve minutes from a meeting or the next consecutive, at our next consecutive meeting, whichever is longer. So we've held way more than 2 meetings since then. So it does need to get wrapped up. We're in violation of statute at this point in multiple sets of minutes. So the minutes do exist. The 522 minutes were approved, and they're on the website live. So
Okay.
for the May 22nd set. So that means if that's when.
if that's the case, then that must have been when they were
You must have, I mean, possibly.
approved, so, but otherwise, any other details, I have no, I mean, that's, you know, we're,
It's my understanding that they've looked very hard through Denise's stuff to find it, and it just doesn't exist. That she may not have even begun them, or,
It's pointless to call a meeting unless there's something to do. So, because if you call a meeting and you just sit here and talk about whatever, now you have to do minutes. And now you gotta call another meeting to to approve the minutes. So, in my opinion, we shouldn't meet unless there's something on the table.
well, that's the principal reason why we're meeting tonight, was because of this minutes issue, that there were several sets that had not yet been approved
That's my whole point.
and all, and,
So it's a vicious circle. You're only making it worse.
well, we can do you know, I'll have minutes from tonight.
So this meeting, if we
Yeah,
can't
no.
even figure out what we did at this meeting, what's the point?
Well, no,
That- You know, we should know what, if you have it on the agenda to approve those minutes, there should be something. So we shouldn't even be, we don't have anything, we shouldn't be approving it.
Well, you and I were not on the commission.
Correct, so
No, I
therefore,
was-
we
I
have to
was
talk
on
to
since-
Mr. Carpenter.
Yeah,
I've been on
and Mike
since last
Curtis-
September. I've been on
It was
since last
August.
fall,
It was
August.
This is August,
Yeah, it was August.
allegedly.
And Mike Curtis was not on yet, so we're really looking at Jerry, you, Peggy, and Joe Dragu, who
Yeah.
obviously.
And we also had,
So why was
Well,
this
I
not
think what we
approved
do-
at that meeting that I was at?
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm wondering
Because the
too.
minutes were never written by Denise. They were never produced.
So we're not in violation. It doesn't, none of this makes any sense. I get very frustrated with, these things should all be cut and dried. There shouldn't be any question.
Yeah, all I can
technically,
think
there's
of, all I
no-
can
there-
think of is we table those because we don't know what we're approving. And we table those, get counsel from the attorney, from the village attorney on it, and go from there.
And I think this is also another reason why it's important that a secretary is appointed by our president, so that they're the ones responsible for doing it. It's not supposed to be staff. It really, our village code reads this way, because I looked into it. I've read our code a few times, front to back.
All right, well, I'll,
we also have the gentleman who's been here from the beginning, and he left. His wife passed away, and he moved away. He sold his home and moved.
oh, John Pree. John Pree, yeah.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
John Pree was there.
And all,
So Carpenter should have been there,
He just called me the other day. I should ask him.
and so if we table and even reach out to him. and
yeah,
see if-
yeah, why don't we do that? And then that way, we get these others approved and, because,
Just can't believe what's going on, honestly.
oh, I know.
So
I
what
know.
good is a computer? We'd be way better off with a stack of papers, because then we could go back and look at those papers. Computers are not helping our society. Think
So-
about it. This should not be a question. How many
Now,
people were
what-
there?
Holly explained
You
the
know?
reason they're not here is because they can't, Denise left, they don't have the minutes.
She either didn't get to
The person that
them.
had them on the computer, they can't find them or they're gone. So
I
that's
rest
why-
my case.
Yeah.
And she may have not even begun to write them, because it was kind of a,
She recorded it.
She was
She
very
always had it like,
efficient.
we tried finding that too, or at least Tracy did.
all I'm saying is
Yeah.
it's not your fight, it's just,
All right.
This is an attorney question at this point.
Yeah, so let's, we can see if Pre has any
So do we need to vote
recollection
to
and all. So let's go ahead and, for those, yes, we'll table
Yeah.
the discussion of the minutes from that date.
August 28th,
Why don't
2023.
we just,
We have to follow through this.
why don't we make a motion to let the lawyer decide?
Yeah. that's-
Because otherwise, we're gonna have to
Right.
meet again if we table.
Well, it sounds like we may have something come up anyhow, because we don't know what this, the people are presenting tonight, if there's something that we're going to have to respond to or not, if that comes back from.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
If they're
So
gonna
we're,
do
we're
it.
at a loss without direction
but-
from the village, and the administrator is the problem, all right?
If we don't have
Because we're
anything in front of
volunteers
us-
here, we're supposed to be dealing with the topics at hand. We're not here to be secretaries and such. That is a whole different thing. Now, I don't know how they want to do it, but you're taking away from the discussion and the thoughtful consideration by the commission members of what the public is asking us to do. So that's why it's so vital to have somebody that is not connected to the commission making the minutes. you
If
know,
there's
I'm
no
just saying
minutes,
what's in
we
the
can't
code.
approve anything.
Right, right, that
Exactly.
too. So we've approved the
So-
2 sets of minutes, and then this August set, we will, table based on the, waiting for the attorney's input.
And we need to vote, yeah.
All right, how do you wanna phrase that? I'll write it down, just phrase it again.
I am asking for a vote to table the August 28th, 2023 meeting minutes,
That don't exist.
correct? And that the attorney can advise on, if you want to look further, is to find out the information of who was there and what took place, that would be helpful.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion or questions? All right, then let's go ahead and do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. All right,
Can I then make a motion to adjourn?
we sure can, unless there's any further discussion or anything. All right.
What about number 6 on the agenda? To discuss the zoning ordinance update?
Nothing
liaison,
terribly, yeah,
nothing?
the only thing that is happening at this coming Wednesday night meeting is they're actually gonna start looking at the map and trying to figure out how to code it. And that's and I think they're discovering it's a much more of a challenge than they realized. And I know Barbara called me, and I think Mr. Rooney was also on the line, so President Wojnicki and Mr. Rooney were on the line, and they were asking about how to come up with a term that fits all the different kinds of properties that are in Campton Hills that have some level of protection on them from development or whatever. And so I think they're gonna try to come up with something, some phrasing that would work for any property that's protected in some way, shape, or form. It might be farmland protection, it might be township protection, it might be forest preserve, whatever. Or maybe even covenants that are on properties within various developments even. So at least people have a clear idea that, oh, this is not a simple open and shut matter. I just walk in and say, I want to put up a whatever. No, these are, already been designated. So that's probably the most significant thing that I've heard in between meetings. Otherwise, most of it, they seem to have gotten through the bulk of it, again, mostly with Mr. Brown, rewriting, phrasing or whatever, or dropping some sections because they were redundant, because it's mentioned in another portion or whatever. So that's sort of the overall thing that has been going on that I've seen. And all. And again, these are going to be recommendations that go to the village board. The village board then will determine what they want to do, and they may totally change, they may totally adopt, they may say, no, it's good enough as is, whatever. So it's in that limbo of not knowing where and what. So that's in essence of what's been happening.
So how do we get a hold of a copy of our zoning ordinance?
Well, let's see, is it online, number one?
You mean our existing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
The one that was approved.
yeah.
2301?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the first approved ordinance of 2023. It's easy to get to.
That's online.
Yeah.
Read it if you're up to it.
Yeah. And also,
I've read, I don't know how many so far, but I wanted to know what the approved one is online.
I mean, I've watched a little bit of the new meetings, a couple of them. Not everyone. So, but like tonight, are we sure, is there
No.
Not yet. Of the ZBA map suggestions, that's what I'll write down for that. Okay, all right.
I move to
motion-
adjourn.
All right.
I second.
Why are these people in such a rush?
Just,
You know,
Because
I
this
mean,
is-
we used to get
this is
meetings to go to
just
10, 11 o'clock at
Yeah,
night, didn't
yeah,
we?
I know.
We have to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same sign, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so
are-
much,
yeah,
everybody.
Are they looking for